has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 277, When the Day Falls Apart. Hi kids, it's Michele. Today we're going to talk about something that happens to everyone. And you know, I say how you go vegan is how you do everything. Whether we are on a plant-based journey, we were trying to move in a vegan direction, if we're just trying to get our weekly podcast done in a timely fashion to get the audio file to our also extremely busy and patient sound engineer, Charlie Weinshank. Whatever you're trying to do, sometimes the day falls apart. Right? It happens to everyone. And it's not because, it's not because you really lack discipline or willpower or commitment, but it is because of how very often our brains are wired. Have you ever woken up with, the greatest of intentions about not eating meat or dairy, and by the end of the day, you're thinking, I'll just worry about it tomorrow. I'll be good about it tomorrow. I want to just do a short podcast today and just to break down why it happens using a little brain science, a little, we call it behavioral economics sometimes, and a lot of compassion for human beings trying to get everything done and live the way they want to live. Now, why do mornings feel easier? You woke up this morning and you probably had a bunch of plans. I sure did. I woke up with a very long list of things I was going to get to today. And for a variety of reasons, I could give you my excuses, but I felt fairly fresh in the morning. And right around now, it's about 6:10 p.m. I simply summoned up all my adrenaline to just follow through on what I wanted to do. I wanted to get a sound file for episode 277 to Charlie. And, when we wake up, what we use very often is the prefrontal cortex of our brains. We've talked about that for 5 years now. It's the part of the brain that's responsible for planning and long-term goals and self-regulation. And in the morning, your brain's pretty rested and your prefrontal cortex is like, okay, let's do this thing. It's the part of your brain that says, I care about our planet. Yes, I am not going to eat dairy. Yes, I feel so much better when I'm eating plant-based. Today is going to be different. It's going to be different. And the morning intentions come from that higher brain, that part of you that truly does want to move in a vegan direction. But as the day goes on, something quite predictable happens. Decision fatigue. Because every single decision you make throughout the day drains a little bit of that brain's executive functioning. And by 4 or 5 p.m., your prefrontal cortex is kind of tired. And that's not personal. That's not you. That's really human neurobiology. Unless we really protect those parts of our brain that are that executive function section of our brain, it just gets tired. And as the prefrontal cortex, as the higher brain gets tired, your reward brain, your limbic system, to be very, very simplistic about things, but I think you can relate to it. Your reward brain steps in and says, yeah, I'd really like a little comfort right now. Okay, I have all this stress. I need a little relief. Can we just do what's easy and familiar? And if it's about food or it's about patterns you've used for decades or habits you've used for decades, yeah, it wants the comfort. It wants normal. It wants predictable. And your limbic system typically does not care all that much about your values or your intentions. It cares about keeping you functioning with some predictable relief. In the world of behavioral economics, they call that present bias. And we've talked about that once or twice, right? The tendency to prioritize immediacy, what's going on right now, today, including immediate comfort, immediate predictability, over some ideas you've had about long-term benefits. Okay? Those come in second, third, fourth, and fifth towards the end of the day. So even if the you who had a lot of great ideas this morning about having salads and tofu bowls and maybe creating a bunch of vegetables in the refrigerator to graze on all week, present, tired, stressed out you wants the easiest source of dopamine. And what brings fast dopamine? I mean, the things that we all do, unconsciously and with that level of tension that we just grab with our hands into a bag of chips. Things like familiar foods, comfort foods, foods that we bond socially over, foods that our brains associate with soothing and connection and fun. Nothing is wrong with you when that happens. Your brain is just doing what human brains do under stress and fatigue. Because the intention was not a problem. The intention was a great, great, great idea. I love my intentions. I love your intentions. But the problem is they don't come with a flowchart of instructions unless we do this very, very thoughtfully. It's the biggest error we tend to make. We assume that having that strong morning intention or the intention we made last night, we assume that means our brain's going to remember it. And not only remember it, execute it hours later when we're hungry and people have been calling or texting or there is work that didn't get finished. But the brain does not work like that. Yes, your intentions were great and they were stored in the prefrontal cortex. Habits, cravings, and emotional reactions are stored in that much older part of your brain. So the question isn't, why can't I stick to my vegan intention? Why can't I follow through with my plant-based ideas? The question is, why am I relying on the weakest part of my brain at the hardest time of my day? This is why you can sincerely, truly believe that you do not want to eat cheese or meat when it's 8 a.m. And then sincerely, genuinely decide to do the opposite at 6 p.m. Those are two different brain states. They're two different motivational systems. And it's not that you are inconsistent. You are just a human being. So when you tell yourself, oh my gosh, I should know better, you're doing something behavioral economists call overconfidence bias. I bet you can guess what that is. Assuming you can rely on your motivation alone without a plan. So you have this idea, I care about animals, I care about my health. I've learned about how the food gets to my store or to my house, but look at me, I did not act in alignment with that, even though I know something better. And instead of resolving that dissonance in your brain with a plan, with some sort of thoughtful strategy, Most people just resolve it with self-blame. Something must be wrong. Why is this so easy for other people? But that kind of shame, that kind of self-blame shuts down the problem-solving networks in your brain. And I know many of us grew up with homes and schools and teachers and coaches who tended to shame us when we didn't follow through or when we made mistakes or when our planning went out the window. But shame actually shuts down problem-solving networks in our brains. And shame actually makes it all harder. Shame sends you right back to the things the patterns you tend to use for relief. And this is how people get stuck for years. And it's not just vegan. It's not just plant-based. It's not just dieting or fitness it's everything. It's everything. Your brain hates a vague instruction. It doesn't understand, I'm going to be good. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to eat clean. No cheese tonight. Don't cave this time. Just ask for what you want. I mean, these are great sentences. They're not wrong, but they're not as clear as your tired out self will need at the end of the day. Because your brain is a prediction machine and it wants clarity, steps, and pre-decided choices. It knows how to live the way you have been living up to now. It's very, very clear. And now you've given it a very, very vague instruction. So from a behavioral standpoint, what you need, what I need at the end of the day, it's not willpower. I need what the researchers call implementation intentions. These are just fancy words, right? For what you know. You need a real plan. If X happens, I'm going to do Y. If my brother-in-law offers me takeout at his house when I'm dropping kids off, my phrase is whatever, right? If I get a craving, the thing I'm going to go to is you choose. If I'm stressed after work, my plan is this is about you. These are you examining the likely places where everything gets wonky at the end of the day and coming up with a decision ahead of time. Maybe you can't figure out every possible eventuality, but if you put a few in place, things get simpler. But without implementation intentions, your brain defaults back to all your old instructions, the ones that you and I have practiced for thousands and thousands of times. And that's why good intentions feel so sincere, but they're pretty fragile. So when you combine, at the end of the day, decision fatigue and that present bias, being much more worried about how you get through the next 5 minutes than the next 5 days, when you take into account the old habit loops that are the default scenarios in your brain, and you add in a lack of implementation planning with specific ideas, it makes perfect sense that your intentions and mine will crumble by the late afternoon. And you know my veg your bestie, I'm going to tell you again, the issue's not you. It's not you. The issue is that you've been relying on motivation instead of mechanisms and plans. Good intentions are a beautiful vision, and that does open up the world when you have a great intention. But without a plan, it's just hope. So today, what I want you to take away, what I'm reminding myself that I need to take away is your good intentions are not weak, and your good vegan intentions are not weak. Your desire to change is not a problem. Your values are clear and your compassion is deep, and the only thing you're missing is a supportive plan that works with your brain and not against it. And whether you're moving in a vegan direction or you're creating a new plant-based practice or you're working on any other goal that seems to go sideways by the end of the day, coaching is the most effective thing I have ever seen to help you grow your own peace and authority and actually do more of what you say you want to. How you go vegan is how you do anything, right? And if it's been hard this season or just today, or if you've lost your trust in yourself, let me know how I can help you so you can veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.